It is National Night Out, a chance for police departments across America to interact with the people. And tonight, the Southport Police Department honors a fallen police officer who died 5 years ago. We're going to get to that story and much, much more here at 10 o'clock. Good to be with you, Felicia and Ashley and I. Did I say Ashley?
Ashley's our producer.
I'm sorry.
Ashley's our producer. We've got two Ashleys.
too.
Don't you worry. We have two Ashleys, and we have
do.
one Ashley that is still
it's
here.
the first time in 20 years I think I've done that with you.
But Ashley is
Angela is here.
So Ashley and Angela.
I answered just about any A name.
One of the
Except
other,
maybe one.
One of the other stories we're going to get to tonight, we're going to talk about Gen Z and work. Because there was this interesting article in the New York Times talking about what Gen Z workers want from companies and what companies want out of Gen Z.
Yeah.
So we're going to get some feedback on that from Felicia tonight. We're going to talk with Angela. But let's start with Angela tonight and talk about the weather, because it could be a hot one tomorrow.
It is going to be a hot one tomorrow, and we're going to be out at the fair.
Yay!
Chuck and myself, we are taking the 13 Weather Academy kind of on the road and out of the schools, but to the fair. So if you happen to be out and about tomorrow, we're going to be in front of the Coliseum on the plaza at noon. I know it's going to be very hot, but you can pop in the Coliseum where it is air conditioned and then pop back out, say hi. We're going to be there doing a little presentation. It's something that we share with school-age students, and a lot of it has to do with science and the importance of STEM. So that's kind of our focus for tomorrow, so we hope to see you out at the fair. Anything that you have planned, some extra shades, some extra water. Temperatures are going to be in the low 90s for highs. Feels like numbers close to 100, if not a tick or two above. And then late afternoon, we'll be watching a line of thunderstorms develop northwest, and that's where we find the risk for some severe weather. Right now, it looks like this weakens as we lose daytime heating tomorrow, but will be the focus for additional storms, especially as we get into the day on Thursday. So scattered showers and storms in that Thursday forecast. A day to stay weather aware, so we'll help you do that. Heat tomorrow, storms around Wednesday night into Thursday.
You know who's on the free stage tomorrow night?
Pat Benatar?
Shaka Khan.
Shaka Khan.
Shaka
I think Pat Benatar's coming too, though.
Yes, in fact, Pat Benatar will be here later in the month, right?
We've got a good free stage because
do.
Kansas was opening night.
true.
Shaka Khan, you can't beat that.
Casey and the Sunshine Band's
Oh,
coming.
I used to love Casey.
That was my first concert back in the 70s.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, Scott.
I know.
I feel like there's some stories surrounding
there are
that.
some major stories. All right, we're going to get back to Angela and talk a little bit more about the heat that's coming your way on Wednesday, coming up in a moment. But first, Felicia and I want to talk about the big story of the night, one of them certainly, and that's the National Night Out. Police departments across the country in their communities, meeting with people in neighborhoods. It's a great opportunity, isn't it, Felicia, to get the police out there and mixing with people.
Absolutely. This is something that communities have stressed the importance of, and that it has been a concern with police and communities in trying to bridge the gap and build a relationship of trust, especially in Black and brown communities. So the fact that they're taking this step and they're hosting this and they're trying to engage the community in this manner is good.
It is good. And so we sent a crew to Southport because 5 years ago, Lieutenant Aaron Allan lost his life. And tonight, as part of the National Night Out in Southport, the police department there remembering him, a celebration of life, 5 years. You remember Lieutenant Allan shot and killed July 27th by a driver involved in a car crash. Lieutenant Allan was reaching into the car trying to help the driver, Jason Brown. The driver started shooting, killed Lieutenant Allan, and that gunman was sentenced to 58 years, but a real good showing tonight there. Southport Police Department honoring that 20-year law enforcement veteran, Lieutenant Allan, leaving behind his wife and children. And we always remember Lieutenant Allan because the day he was shot and killed, he took his son to kindergarten, walked him to kindergarten that morning, and then was murdered later in the afternoon. And so there are some photos of Lieutenant Allan, and a really nice way to honor him tonight and to remember him with the police car and a wreath. So it was nice that Southport Police Department did that. And then, of course, this is part of the evening where the kids were able to actually get with the police department. And as you mentioned, it's really fostering relationships, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And with Lieutenant Allan, I really appreciate seeing things like this because we report on these stories. But one thing is that these family members have to go on living
For sure.
this. So it might be in the news a couple of times, or, I mean, clearly we're still reporting on it 5 years later. But the fact that this forever alters these families' lives. And so the fact that they are working overtime to ensure that his memory still lives on, I appreciate that, and I'm sure it just means a lot to the family.
Yeah, you bet. So we have Lauren Kostick, who'll be joining us tonight on the news at 11 o'clock. She'll have a full report from the Southport Police Department as we continue to look at National Night Out. All right, let's bring Angela back in and talk about this interesting article that we read about in the New York Times this week about Generation Z. So these are the I think of them as kids. They're really not kids, but these are folks that were born after 1997.
Yes.
And so they wanted to look at after 97. So they wanted to look at what Gen Z workers are looking for in a career, and conversely what companies are willing to give Gen Z workers in order to get them in the door and retain them. And so very interesting article. They looked at what they want in jobs. The article mentioning that Legoland allowing employees to have piercings, tattoos, and colored hair. Mentioning another company offers 4-day work week. Another company allowing employees to work from anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, what were your
Sign
thoughts on
us up!
Do we have to be Gen Z for that?
Right, right. So I think this is an interesting conversation, especially as we talk about the Great Resignation. You know, every industry, we're feeling it in television, the restaurant industry. Every industry is having a tough time finding workers, keeping workers, and retaining workers. And so we have to have this conversation about what the workplace looks like and how it functions. And I think it's one thing that millennials as well as Gen Z, they are making a resounding noise that something's got to give, something's got to change. So I'm curious to what you all think, being of a different generation.
Baby boomer. At least me.
Yeah. Angela says, speak for yourself. But no, I'm curious to what you guys think, because I feel like it's a fine balance. So like Gen Z millennials, they get a bad rap, but at the same time, there's some positives that come out of this as we talk about mental health and self-care. But at the same time, I'm sure Gen X and baby boomers, you know, they talk about having thicker skin, showing up even when you don't feel like it. You know, you have to have some fortitude as well. So it's like a balancing act.
Yes.
So what do you think when you hear
Yes,
about Gen Z, you know, complaining about 5-day work weeks and working all these hours? And
You want to know what immediately came into my mind?
yes, I do.
Get over it.
Yeah.
Get to work.
There you go.
Yeah. But I raised too, I guess, Gen Z, right?
Yes.
97 to what year?
2000 something.
Yeah.
Gen Z
Did I have that
is
right?
97 to 2012.
Right.
Okay, so yes,
97 to
I
2012.
raised
So those
to
are
Gen
people
Z.
aged 10 to 25. This is Gen Z, 10 to 25.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got two of those.
Yes, you do.
See, my 3 are a little older than that,
Okay.
but yeah, not much older than that.
So are
but
they millennials then, technically?
I think they're millennials, yeah.
So it's like every generation complains about the generation
Sure.
after
Before
them.
it, right.
But it's always also some good things and some things to learn
And you
from
learn.
them too.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think the pandemic certainly had something to do with how everybody looks at their job, whether they're Gen Z or not. You know, a lot of people work remotely, then some people enjoyed that, others didn't enjoy that. So I think, you know, everybody's sort of reevaluating how much they want to work, and certainly where they want to work. And
But I always say, if you're not working, how are you going to pay the bills?
Yes. So
a
that was
good
one thing
point.
we talked about in the newsroom, Scott. I was asking because where are all the workers? You know, we've done plenty of stories on here. And we talked about, like, what are they going to do long term?
Right.
So, like, in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, this is when you go out and make your dollar bills. This is when you get it going. This is when you get it out the mud and you get those wheels rolling.
Right.
And so
you
if
start
folks
saving
aren't
for
working,
retirement at that age too.
if
Right.
folks are not working or they're doing, you know, part-time jobs to just get by, I think a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck, just trying to get by right now. But what is this generation going to do when they do become 60, 70, 80,
What's their
90
retirement
years
gonna
old?
look
Exactly.
like if they haven't
Is Social
had
Security going to be there for them?
Heck
Most
no.
of
think
these,
so?
most of these companies aren't doing pensions, and
Right.
you know, I don't know what it looks like in the public sector for city and federal folk right now, but the Social Security, they're saying no, the boomers wore that out, so
Right.
there's not enough people
Thank
paying
you.
into Social Security. Yeah, not enough people paying into Social Security.
No, but that is, those are important questions because you think, okay, 20, 30, 40, I don't care about that. But luckily, something stuck in my mind. I don't know if it was my parents that basically said, you save as soon as you can start
That's
saving,
right.
you
Yeah.
save.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what our friends online are saying tonight.
I see paragraphs.
Oh, yeah. All right, so I'm reading this cold, so this is a little dangerous.
Careful, edit.
No, take your time.
Tanya
Don't rush
says,
it.
I don't necessarily want to work. I like being homeless even less, so I get over it every morning and I go to work. So that's
Amen,
Tanya's feeling.
Tanya.
Joyce is saying they won't have much of a retirement.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true. You don't show up. Aaron joining us from Southport tonight. Aaron, good to have you with us. Victoria saying, when people work from home or another county, how are the payroll taxes done? That's a good question. I don't really know.
That's a good question. I think it depends on where your company is based at. That's a good question.
Yeah, but you can get charged double state tax, I believe. Early in my career,
That sounds horrible.
I interviewed on the East Coast, so work in New Jersey, live in New York, work in New York, live in New Jersey, and you
Yeah.
had to pay both.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yikes. Teresa says, I agree with Angela, get over it. Cynthia, Angela, I completely agree with you by saying the Gen Z can get over it.
But I also do appreciate the bigger conversation for
Right.
mental health and in taking care of yourself.
Right.
Because I think sometimes those of us in maybe my generation, you just don't until it's too late.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is an important conversation. So we can learn from each other.
Short anecdote, my husband runs a restaurant, and one of his workers came in and was they basically were like, yeah, I didn't come in yesterday because I needed I think they said a self-care day. And so my husband was very upset. He was very upsetting. He's a Gen Xer. And so he was like, he felt like you had the audacity to tell me that you weren't coming because you didn't feel like it. I'm paraphrasing, but basically she said she didn't feel like it. And so don't get me wrong, there are personal self-care days, you know, there are sick days, there are days where it doesn't come together, but she cavalierly, if that's a word,
That is.
stated that, you know, she just didn't feel like it.
Well, and what if
it didn't sound like a mental health situation. It didn't sound like I have a lot going on in my life. I need time away. And it wasn't done responsibly. It was a last-minute call-off.
Right.
You know.
So, and Teddy can't do that because what if he did that and closed the restaurant and
Exactly.
all of those workers that depend on him and the patrons that depend on him
Everybody
are
wants
out.
their-
Right.
Everybody still wants their
And
check.
in this industry,
That's the
you
thing.
can't just say, oh, you know,
Right.
sorry.
My wife,
Roscoe, you've got the weather tonight.
floor director extraordinaire,
That's
Roscoe.
to our point. You know, the self-care conversation is a good conversation, but at the same time, you have to have some fortitude and some grit to keep
Responsibility.
pushing and
Right.
responsibility. Keep pushing in life.
And responsibility for those that you work with
That
as
too.
well, you know.
That too.
A couple of other things. Liz says these days most businesses are just putting up with the revolving door. They just need warm bodies. It's unfortunate.
It is.
Yeah, my wife said she drove by a Greek restaurant up near our home, and they had a sign on the door saying, we're closed today, staffing issues.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you
happened
see
to
that.
us
Yeah.
with the restaurant.
Right,
It's
right.
just not enough people
Yeah.
to work.
Tanya says, I'd like to do a 4-day work week, have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off.
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
Yes.
Be pretty good.
I'd even take Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Ooh.
Oh, that would be
Okay,
a
so that's
3-day
4 days.
work.
That'd be a 3-day week.
Good luck talking to the boss on that
Sorry
one.
about that. My mouth was off. I'll take Saturday. I'd even take Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
I'll take a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday work week off.
All right, you can continue the conversation there in the comment section. Continue to let us know what you think about that. In the meantime, tomorrow's going to be a hot one.
It is going to be a hot one. We're back into the 90s tomorrow. Feels like temperatures near 100.
All right. I apologize for calling you Ashley again.
So please.
We started.
Again, we've got a couple Ashleys. I'm not a fan.
All right. We're 45 minutes away from the news over on Channel 13. Felicia, Angela, and I will see you then. Good night.